let's talk about balance changes in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wanted to talk about this eventually because there's a lot of ideas being bounced around about what sort of balance changes should be made. I see guys like Scott Jund coming out and being like, hey, here's all my ideas for stuff that needs to be buffed or nerfed, and it's all family buffs and victim nerfs, and there's a lot of that going around, and that's something that I wanted to address before we get into the actual specifics here. Is that I suspected this was the case when I was covering Evil Dead. I suspected that there was lots of people going around claiming that they played both sides, and yet every suggestion they make was a demon buff or a survivor nerf. So it seemed rather dubious, and that they were they truly playing both sides, or were they playing 95% demon? And they were mostly a demon main and had a huge bias towards that role and would just pretend they played both sides in order to convince people, hey guys, I know what I'm talking about. In addition to that, I also got the sense that demon mains specifically would use hyperbole and really over-exaggerate how big of an issue certain things were in an attempt to get devs to overcompensate and either overbuff or over-nerf in a way that benefits their role. And I thought maybe that was the case, but I didn't play Demon, so I didn't know for sure. So I just kept my mouth shut. I didn't know for sure. Maybe a lot of the stuff the Demon side was complaining about was as big of an issue as they said they were. Now I see it firsthand in Texas Chainsaw. They use so much hyperbole, like people who play family exclusively, in order to make things seem like a bigger issue than it is. Now, are they doing it to get the devs to overcompensate and buff and overbuff and over nerf roles in a way that benefits them? I don't know for sure, but I think yes, that's what's happening here. Because now that I play a lot of family, I play more family than I play victim in this game. I could see that you'll see people come out and be like, man, I'm getting door stunned and locked into an animation every single match. Something needs to, and that's just not happening. It's not happening. Is door stunning an issue? Yes. Is it just this like epidemic where it's happening every single game? No, it is not. I have seen someone get stunned like permanently on a door like that one time. I have like 60 hours in this game, folks, and I have seen it happen once while playing both roles. And it has never happened to me because I'm like aware that it's a thing, so I know how to avoid it. And most of the time, I'm cutting down doors with Leatherface that I think are, important doors that need to be cut down. Like if I'm on Family House, there's 3 doors that need to be cut down to patrol the 4 main exits out of the basement. So it just doesn't happen to me. And I've only ever seen it happen once, and it happened to a teammate. And guess what? I came down there and helped him. And so he got out of the permanent door stun situation. So stuff is not nearly as big of an issue as people make it seem. And it seems like they're overinflating the issue in order to hopefully get the devs to make, knee-jerk decisions and extreme decisions in terms of balancing that will benefit them, and I hate it. It sucks. Quit doing it. It's annoying. All right, they won't quit doing it. They'll continue to do it throughout this game's life cycle, just like they did on Evil Dead. But let's dive into the specifics now, and I am using this Reddit post from North Astronaut 7028. So shout out to that random Redditor for this. The reason I'm using it is because it's a nice, tidy way to look at a lot of people's complaints and address them all in a row without having to go around and research everything and be like, here's all these people. I got a few on my notes here that weren't mentioned here that are common complaints that I will also address. But let's go down the list here. Car battery should be on by default. This person also claims that they are, like, they play both sides, and then all their changes are, you know, exclusively family buffs and victim nerfs. So that's kind of funny. With, like, one exception, but we'll get there. Car battery should be on by default. Yes, it should be. Now, even aside from balance, a discussion on balance, I went into this in one of my other videos. It's a good change just because it will help out newer players who don't know, oh, why does the generator start on but the car battery doesn't? Just have them make it consistent, have both of them start on. But yes, balance-wise, would it help to allow you an extra 15-20 seconds to set up instead of having to waste time putting on the car battery? Yes, it would, and that's why it should probably be changed. But more importantly than that, it's a huge issue on Slaughterhouse. Because on Slaughterhouse, if you pick Hitchhiker and Cook, which a lot of people are going to do because they're the two best family members, Hitchhiker and Cook both spawn near the junkyard. Cook spawns in like that. It's sort of like a kitchen area, and Hitchhiker spawns all the way by the generator. So that means one of the two has to go all the way over to the car battery, and that takes forever to go and do that. And it's a huge disadvantage if you happen to pick those two family members. Now, I think that was probably by default. Or not by default, by design. Because I think the devs were thinking when they made this game, oh, we want to make it a situation where certain characters are not good on certain maps. So that you are forced to play different characters and switch it up. That's just not working. We're going to have to change up that like design philosophy. Because we're just going to run into so many people that are just like, I like playing Cook, so I'm going to play Cook every time I get the opportunity to. And so they're just going to pick Cook on Slaughterhouse. Nothing you could do about it. It's like, I shouldn't, have now a massive disadvantage because some guy on my team insists that they play Cook. So yes, let the car battery start on by default, please. Grandpa's cutscene changes. Cutscene should be a small pop-up like a live webcam thing. On the top right of the screen, instead of stopping all actions, it should notify family if victims have made too much noise or opened a basement door. Should it be a small pop-up or even just text that flashes on the screen? Yes, especially because right now it stalls out Leatherface's chainsaw, which is really frustrating. If he's revving his chainsaw in the middle of that cutscene popping up, by the time he comes back, he will have stalled out. That's really frustrating if you're in the middle of a chase. So yes, get rid of that. It creates so many issues. Just make it. If you wanted to keep the like actual cutscene that you worked so hard on of Grandpa going, huh? Just have it be a tiny little box in the corner that doesn't interrupt gameplay. I'm cool with that. But I'd even be fine if they got rid of it altogether and just had text pop up that says, Grandpa's awake. Should it notify if victims have made too much noise or open a basement door? No. No, no, no. The point is that it hasn't notified why he has woken up. Because then it makes it to where the family actually has to communicate. Crazy concept, I know. The family has to communicate, and so the Leatherface has to be like, hey, I'm checking these doors, and none of them are open, so they haven't gotten out yet. Or be like, I checked this door, this door, this door, this door. So, like, if I'm on Family House, I can be like, hey, I checked the 4 main exits. It's got to be that back exit that isn't in this loop that I'm running. So go check the stairs out in the side garden, because that's probably the door they're coming up. That's the type of communication they want. That's the type of communication this game should keep. No, don't do that. Iframes is what they're, which, by the way, someone asked this because they didn't know. Iframes is invincibility, invulnerability frames, which means once you are in a certain animation, you can no longer take damage. You're invulnerable. You are invincible. You have iframes when you go through gaps and crawl spaces after a certain point. It's incredibly obvious on gaps. Basically, the second you get into the animation for going through a gap, you are invulnerable. You have iframes. And so even if, like, visually, your shoulder is sticking out and, you know, this hit that the family member just went for should have connected, it'll be like, no, you have iframes. So it didn't go through. The iframes on crawl spaces are perfectly fine. They don't need to be changed. Wells don't need to do more damage. They're fine. The iframes on everything from crawl spaces to going over the Leatherface boxes to going into a well, all that stuff is fine. Gaps could probably be changed a little bit and made easier to hit them. Less iframes on gaps. Everything else is fine. Gaps have a tendency to give you complete iframes the second you enter the animation, which is not the case for any other animation. Every other animation, you can get 1 or 2 hits off as they're, you know, entering that animation before they finally get iframes. Gaps seems to be the one exception where you immediately get iframes, which could be by design. Maybe they did it because they're like, we want to make it so you're completely immune. The only way to get a hit off there is to use Leatherface's thrust attack. But thrust is useless, so if they don't want to do that, then they need to just buff Leatherface's thrust and make it an actual, like, viable attack. Fuse box and gas station backdoor escape. Fuse box should open the basement door immediately. It should have a 30-second or so timer. Unlike Valve, family wouldn't be able to turn it off, but it would give them some time to prepare. No. Yeah, this is going to be a controversial one, but I think no. This doesn't need to be changed. Not right now, anyway. Because as it is right now, I think Family House, because this is going to be the most controversial thing I say all video, this game is actually family-sided at the highest level of play. On Family House and Gas Station. Slaughterhouse, it's slightly victim-sided because the layout of that map sucks, and having the water valve spawn in the basement sucks. But, like, if you're a good team, you should never lose on Family House or Gas Station. You just shouldn't. It's so easy to protect the exits on that map. The area you need to patrol, that inside the house itself and inside that little area in the gas station is so small, you should never lose it. The fuse box is there for a reason. It's there essentially to give players a way to escape against a really good family team. That's basically why it exists. Like, it's there as an option because it's an instant escape that you cannot, you know, that family members have to sit on. That if they see the box has been opened, they have to sit there. Because if you don't, and they can just fart around downstairs and then go, oh, somebody got the family box, I'm going to go up there and turn it off before they can get out. At that point, it would become so family-sided to just shut the game off. Like, you know, you'd be winning every game if you were in a group. You'd never lose again. So, yeah, don't do anything about the fuse box right now. It's fine right now. I understand the frustration. I have had games, because I play solo on Family, where I've played against like a TTV sweat squad, and someone's going to get upset that I say sweat squad. I don't care. Where they went and got the fuse box and were out within under a minute on Slaughterhouse because they got that really good fuse box spawn that's kind of where the junkyard is. And they went up the ladder, got that. The rest of the team stayed right by the basement exit, and they all ran out. That sucks to have that happen. But I don't think the answer is to nerf that because of those outlier situations that don't happen very often. Leave it as it is right now. We'll come back to that later down the line. It shouldn't be a priority at the moment. The gas station backdoor escape is way too easy, requiring one lockpick for basement, one lockpick for... That is, I like to believe that that's by design. I think it is that way because it is so easy to patrol that inner area and protect the 4 gates that need to be protected that lead to the gas station and the car battery, respectively. That they have then made it easier to escape from one of those areas in exchange for it being more difficult to get there. It's the same kind of design philosophy, I think, on Family House, where you can jump out the front window. And that's like an alternate means of escape. Like, the gas station door is that map's version of the front window for Family House. That's what I think. Because victims are starting to realize that when you're playing on Family House, the play is to have someone, usually Anna, because of her high toughness, take that perk that lowers damage when you jump out a window or down a well and allows you to get up faster. And the second she gets upstairs, just run for the front window and jump out. Because then at that point, the family then has to make a decision whether or not they want to come out and chase you. And if they chase you, it's going to be a worthless chase where she's just going to jump down the well and waste your time for free. And now she has created a free window exit that's quiet, that doesn't have the glass shattering notification for family. Or you leave her, and now she has free reign to just go escape. So it's a lose-lose situation for family at that point. So I basically think it's by design. Now, the argument that door completely invalidates the generator escape on that side of the map is accurate. So, is the solution to move the generator somewhere where it's harder to see to make it a more viable escape? I thought yes, that was the solution. The more I think about it, the more I think I don't love it, because it also makes it to where the car battery is no longer a viable option compared to the generator, if both the generator and the door are equally easy means of escape versus the car battery. But then the argument could be, well, that's fine, because then what's going to happen is family is going to just camp out those doors to make sure nobody can get through there, and then that opens up the car battery. So it basically car battery becomes an easier means of escape by virtue of the way family members play the map. So I don't know. This is the one where now I'm not sure what to do about that door. I think that it would be easy enough to just lock the door and like board it up, so then the door still exists, but it's like, oh, the family members like boarded it up so that people can't get through there anymore. I think the devs put it there because it's like lore accurate. They wanted to have that door there because it's seen in the movie. If they want to keep it, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if they wanted to keep it the way it is right now and just it stays that way, and it's like, well, you know, the generator is just going to be useless on that map for this game's entire life cycle, I really wouldn't care. It'd be fine. Door slams. They feel buggy and clunky for both sides. Family should have a 5-second invincibility window where they can't be stunned again after the door is slammed. Does it feel buggy and clunky? Yes, but the whole game does. That's just the way the game is. Should there be a 5-second invincibility window? I think yes. The reason that I think yes is because the spirit of the door slam mechanic, to me, is you're supposed to slam the door on somebody, knock them down, and then that buys you enough time to break line of sight, run away, and hide. It's not there to stun someone over and over again. So I'd be totally fine with, and I think the same is true of backstabs. Backstabs with a bone shiv are there for you to stab them and then, you know, run away while they're being stunned. So I wouldn't even be opposed to having the stun actually be longer, like adjusting it so that they're down on the ground for even longer, you're stunned for even longer after you get hit with a bone shiv in exchange for having complete invulnerability for 5 seconds after that animation plays out. I'd be fine with that. But yes, something does need to be done about door slams. Are they as big of an issue as people make them out? No. Would this be a really easy fix that would, you know, get rid of this issue completely and probably still be fine for victims? Yes. Choose flight and no sell. These are the best victim perks. They need to be changed. No, they don't. They're both fine the way they are. They're especially both fine under the current, I don't want to say meta, but the way things work now with how lethal family members can be. No sell is a perk that pretty much needs to exist as long as Leatherface exists in a way that allows him to like one-shot people. Choose flight needs to exist as long as there are super squishy characters that, like Connie, who can die in like a few hits from any family member. So I'm fine with that. There needs to be a perk that basically allows you to, you know, not take as many hits. And then it's like, well, once you do take a hit, you're going to die. Those two perks are fine. One perk that's not mentioned here that I will talk about is Agitator. That perk is brought up a lot. That is the perk that makes it to where when you stab Grandpa, it causes him to lose more levels. I think at max it's 3, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's 5. I don't know. But it's a lot of levels is the point. Does that need to be nerfed? Yeah, I think it does. I don't even think it's that big of a like issue. Like, not that many people run it. The only thing is like, I think losing 1 level by default is fine. But I don't know about Agitator. Even just thinking about it now, does it really need to be nerfed? That's one that I'd be fine just sitting on for a while and coming back to it. It seems like it's probably a problem because my gut feeling says it takes so much effort to get Grandpa leveled up by 3 levels that then a victim being able to erase all that progress in 1 hit in half a second is bad design. That's what my gut's telling me. But I also don't have enough matches where I'm just like, this is a big enough issue to justify needing to nerf it right now. I think it could probably be kept the way it is for the time being. But definitely should be monitored. Family changes. Leatherface, his thrust ability sucks, makes it go, his insta-kill's too strong. I think everything about his thrust does suck and needs to be changed. I don't think his insta-kill needs to be changed for now. I think his insta-kill's fine at the moment. Especially in a world where you can, you know, bring a perk like no sell. That's the whole idea behind it. It's like, hey, if you don't like getting one shot, you got to bring no sell. Otherwise, you're going to take that risk that maybe the Leatherface is really good, knows what they're doing, has the right build, and you got to be able to use crawl spaces and stuff to your advantage and not be seen, not be hit. That's the whole point, right? I think that's the game the devs ultimately wanted to create, is to make you play stealthier and not just run around with impunity and be like, it doesn't matter because you know, if he hits me, I'll just immediately go find a crawl space. That's the idea. Is Leatherface should be lethal so that you have to play stealthy and not just run around. So I think he's fine the way he is, except his thrust does need to be buffed. And not even damage-wise. I think damage-wise his thrust is fine. His thrust just needs to, like, connect more. It needs to hit people easier. Johnny. Johnny is a level 3 upgrade in his ability tree that changes the color footprint space. Now, recently they were left. In my opinion, this should be base kit. It wouldn't make him that much stronger. It would be nice if Johnny made it. Johnny does need to be buffed. We've gone over this. He is in the same sort of class that Cook is. The way I see it is the game has made chaser characters, which is Hitchhiker and Sissy, and tracker characters, which is Cook and Johnny. The problem is that Johnny has Johnny's tracking ability is the footstep gimmick, which is equal to what Cook does with his listening ability. The problem is Cook's listening ability is way better than Johnny's tracking ability. And then Johnny doesn't have anything else. But Cook has padlocks. And padlocks are huge. So yes, Johnny needs some sort of utility added to his kit. He doesn't need this thing-made base kit. But he needs some sort of utility similar to padlocks. They really wanted to just be lazy and didn't want to and I'd be fine with this. I'm not saying this as an insult. They wanted to, they could just give Johnny padlocks. Just give him 3 padlocks. That'd be fine. If they don't want to have to come up with a, like, completely new utility ability for him, then they could just do that for now, and it would be fine. Just give him 3 padlocks, dude. And then I think he'd be balanced, because then it's like, okay, his tracking ability is worse than Cook's tracking ability, but in exchange, he's way better at chasing, because he does more damage and he's faster. Easy. That's the trade-off. Like, Cook is better at tracking people than Johnny is, but in exchange, Johnny is better in a chase. And then they're equal in terms of their utility value. Easy. There you go. Sissy, probably the most hated family member along with Cook for good reason. Cook is the most hated? That's news to me. Her attacks shouldn't... I love seeing a Cook when I'm a victim. He's so slow. Shouldn't make you stagger left and right. It also disorients you and shows your location to other family members. For Poison Cloud, sure. Adamula, Sissy's fine the way she is. She's not even as good as Hitchhiker. I don't think she's an issue right now. Sissy's fine the way she is. She doesn't need any nerfs. She doesn't need any buffs. She's fine just the way she is right now. Cook. His listening ability is really strong, but it's not the problem. I think his padlocks shouldn't be as hard to pick as normal locks. No. They should consume a lockpick, but don't make them take as long. No, no, no. Cook's fine the way he is. Cook's fine. Don't need to touch him. His padlocks are fine. They don't need to be buffed either. They don't need to be nerfed. They don't need to be buffed. They're perfect just the way they are. Breaking through them is not even, like, a factor in how strong he is. The reason he's strong is because if you're not a stupid family and you padlock certain things, it makes it to where you can now patrol that area more easily. So basically what I'm trying to say is, let's take Family House for instance. That back door that leads outside to the gate, being able to padlock that is huge, because otherwise someone could just be hiding, and if someone is like patrolling that area, they could wait until your patrol takes you to another room and then immediately just go out that door real quick, and you'd be none the wiser. His padlocks are good for information. If you use your family sensibility to see, like, oh, that padlock on that door is gone, let's go. So they're perfectly fine the way they are. You just have to know how to use them. Hitchhiker. Traps should take longer to get out of. No, his traps are perfectly fine the way they are. I guess I'll use this opportunity to talk about Bomb Squad as well, which is the perk that allows you to disable his traps without a shiv. That perk's fine. I have no issues with it. I am a Hitchhiker main on the family side. Bomb Squad shouldn't even be an issue, because if you place his traps correctly, you should be placing them in areas where you are cutting off certain escape routes. So for instance, if you're on Family House, you're putting his trap down in the doorway that leads to the side garden to deny that well from family members or from victims. Then that way they're in the middle of the chase and they either have to step in the trap or they have to go, oh no, I can't go that way, and they got to go somewhere else. That's why you're doing it. That's how you should be using your traps. And then people aren't destroying them, or you're putting them in, like, on the other side of crawl spaces. So, like, not crawl spaces, but like gaps. So one of my favorite trap spots is the gap that leads to the bushes that leads to the generator on Slaughterhouse. If you put one there, they're locked in the animation. So they can't disable it unless they go around. They can't see it because it's in the bush. So stuff like that, you should be placing them in places where they can't really do anything about it. Placing them at the top of a ladder, stuff like that. Bomb Squad's a non-issue, and his traps are fine the way they are. He's already the strongest family member. He certainly doesn't need more buffs. That's for sure. This diminishing returns thing, I don't understand the point of that. If you give family members like a 5-second immunity after they get stunned, then this is not necessary. You don't need all this. So I don't even know why they typed all this. So there you go. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Connie. Connie's ability gets complained about a lot. Connie's ability is fine the way that it is. Yeah, it's perfectly fine the way that it is. She's already super squishy to where she dies in like 3 to 4 hits from every family member. And that's the trade-off, is that you got to keep your eye on Connie, and if you do happen to find her, she's pretty much dead. She's pretty much donezo. She's perfectly fine the way she is. Is her ability really strong? Sure. I might even make the argument that Anna's ability is like even stronger. Like Anna's ability is nuts. And then Leland's ability is really good. Yeah, Sunny and I don't know why the last Julie, their abilities are pretty weak by comparison, but all three of them, the other victims, have great abilities. And I think Connie's is fine, and it especially needs to exist in a world where, you know, cook is a thing, because that's the strategy. It's like if you have a really good family team on Family House and you brought a cook and they padlocked the back door, if they patrol properly, you're never going to have enough time to pick that lock completely. Like, you might get 1/3 of the lock done before somebody will come back and see you. So Connie has to exist so that a good Connie player can go back there, insta-pick the lock, and now you've put pressure on the family, and they're like, okay, maybe she picked the lock, we found Connie before she could get out the back gate. But now we have a larger area that we have to protect. And that's to me what I think the design philosophy of the game is that she needs to exist so that she can open up the area more easily and make it harder for the family to protect different objectives. Because if you don't, then it just becomes super easy, and family members can very easily patrol all the different objectives. So I think Connie is fine the way she is. But those are my thoughts on all the balance stuff. You tell me what you think. Leave a comment. Be civil. I know that balance change stuff brings out the emotion in people. So people have a tendency to be like, well, you're dumb and you don't know what you're talking about and you're trash. All I ask is that you be civil. You can disagree with me and be like, hey, here's why you're wrong, and here's, you know, let me tell you why. Don't come in with insults and stuff. So be civil, people. So yeah, there's your balance thoughts. Comment, tell me what you think and what you think should be changed. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you enjoyed the video, it really helps me out. And I will see you all in the next one.